come this event, to be present, for the willingness to show up and to show up and bear witness to this moment of what I would just say is communal grief. I'm grateful to our speakers, those who will help guide us this afternoon, this evening, through various reflections. I'm grateful to the Unitarian Universalist Church for opening these doors and making space for us, especially as plans change from the initial period of planning here. I'm also grateful to, I almost forgot to say, I'm grateful to the musicians who've offered their service this day to our common cause here together this night. And then finally, I'm grateful to the organizers, the people who came up with this idea, who have thoughtfully created this opportunity to gather, to remember, and to grieve together. Before I pass the baton on to another speaker and whatnot for this service, I wanted to offer a brief word about, at least by my estimation, why we're here, what we're doing here tonight. This last week, I encountered some individuals who called this an anti-ICE protest, an anti-ICE event. And I wanted to directly address that. This vigil is not really a protest or calling for specific policy changes. This is not a partisan gathering of people. It is a gathering of people who are grieving much, people who are in need of hope. Many of us, of course, are deeply concerned about the policies that have contributed to the loss of life that we are recognizing this day. And that concern is real, and it matters. And it's also true, genuinely true, I believe, that many of us know and love people who work in the field of law enforcement, who are doing difficult, important work to keep our local communities safe. But here's what I believe. Two seemingly opposing realities can both be true. We can mourn the loss of life caused by the state violence that we're here to remember and lament. And we can respect those who are deeply called in love to do the hard work of protecting and serving our neighbors. To pretend otherwise, to ignore that complexity, is to ignore the full humanity of others. It's to trade human dignity for something, well, politically expedient, I think. That's not who I am. And I know that's not who we are, those who've gathered this evening. So tonight it's about lament. It's about grief. It's about gathering in the presence of loss in our country and saying to one another, you are not alone in this sorrow. We hold each other in it. And together we pray for those who have died, for those who mourned them, who loved them. And we pray for the wisdom and compassion to break forth in our world. Thank you for being here this night.
Hello, and thank you for attending our community vigil on this very cold day. Some of you I know or have met, some not. My name is Allison Huber. For nearly a year now, I've been helping to organize a number of events in our community under the banner 5051 Quincy, Illinois. Our group is not backed by any formal organization or partisan interest group. We're just the people who said yes when the need arose. It's a privilege to stand here and meet with you today. It's a privilege to have been afforded the help and assistance of so many friends and community members for this to be happening right now. It's a privilege to have a voice and a platform. I recognize these privileges because when I look around at how our nation and society operates, it wouldn't be fair to blithely assert everyone has the same opportunities or the same level of support. Right now in America, there are immigrants, refugees, and citizens who are too afraid to leave their homes to purchase groceries or walk their kids to school. There are neighborhoods being enveloped by hexachloroethane and other chemical warfare gases. There are armed, masked, government-sanctioned agents in tactical vests and military fatigues terrorizing citizens and other civilians, shooting canisters of gas at their heads point blank, causing their infants to stop breathing, dragging people by their hair, ripping families apart, pointing handguns at people's faces, and sometimes pulling the trigger. It makes us ask why. And mostly what I come up with is there's an egregious lack of concern for the well-being of everyday people by our current leaders and their poorly trained, domestically deployed terrorists who cause panic and heartache wherever they go. And then there's everyday people who are panicking and terrified, trying desperately to hold together what we know to be good. It's good to love your neighbor. It's good to believe in the equality and inherent value of every individual. Even as we are faced with aggression and hostility, it's good to reply, I'm not mad at you. I have to admit, some days I do get really mad. I'm mad hearing what's said and seeing what's done in the name of my country that I was taught to love and trust. I'm mad at those who abuse the name of God for their own personal desires when nothing they do reflects who I am or what I would ever want. Still as upset as I am, violence is a last resort, not an automatic preset. A death due to violence is always a tragedy, regardless of whose side you're on, or whose fault it was, or if they deserved it. Tonight we honor those lives lost in the past year due to ICE-related violence and operations. We grieve the lack of empathy and care by leaders and representatives who continue to tear apart America, the beautiful tapestry of love and diversity that was meant to keep us safe and warm. And we continue to look for the good in this world, shining through the dark like a ray of sunlight. Some days there are more questions than answers, but we will continue to walk forward, scared but brave, stumbling but unrelenting, sad but hopeful. If there is an answer to what we need to carry with us moving forward, I believe it's just these three things: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Continue to love and continue to find the good in this world. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Shay Johnson-Tiller. I fully intended to play on the guitar today, but I was in an accident and I've got a pinched nerve. So I prepared something in its place. I felt called to participate today. This current situation is really striking a nerve in me. You see, I've got family and friends in Minneapolis. I've spent several summers of my childhood in Minneapolis. I've walked the streets there. I've gone to the parks. I've swam in the pools, walked the White Castle. I couldn't do that today. And it's not because there's gangs or a safety threat from the public. It's our government escalating and scaring our citizens. And that breaks my heart. When I learned about Renee Good, my heart stopped. It could have been me, any of us. Instead of our government taking the high road, she was automatically called a professional agitator and a domestic terrorist. And it's unbelievable. I don't know what the answer is. We need to continue to stand up and speak out. I know that it can be discouraging. But for every time one of us is standing up and speaking out and holding space, we've got 3 or 4 people behind us who physically can't make it or who are too scared to speak out. And I don't know what the answer to that is either. And I speak out for my granddaughter. Will she be singled out because of her skin color or her father? Will she live her life in fear of ICE and having to show her birth certificate? I don't know what the answer is. So I would like to read the lyrics to the song written by Bob Dylan. I feel as though it's very timely and very poignant. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? And how many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sea? How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is flowing in the wind. The answer is flowing in the wind. How many years must a mountain exist before it's washed to the sea? And how many years must some people exist before they're allowed to be free? And how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is flowing in the wind. The answer is flowing in the wind. How many times can a man look up before he sees the sky? And how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? And how many deaths will it take until he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
My name is Natalie Dincher, and I'm a member here at the Quincy Unitarian Church. I'm also someone who serves on the worship committee. We gather this evening because of lives that matter, not as symbols, not as debate, but as human beings. Beloved and irreplaceable. People who should still be here with their loved ones. Mothers and fathers who should be at home with their children. Their children. Right now. In moments like this, hatred is so very tempting. Tempting us to harden, to reduce people to uniforms or to roles, to answer violence with contempt. But hatred has already taken way more than enough. So let's ask this question tonight. How do we respond in a way that honors life, even now? We respond by telling the truth. Lives have been lost. Harm is being done. Grief is real. Justice matters. And we respond by refusing to let grief and rage strip anyone of their humanity. That includes victims whose names we speak and the many names we do not yet know. That includes the ones left behind in the wake of unbearable loss. And yes, that includes those whose actions are bound up in harmful systems. To say this is not to excuse. It's to insist that accountability without humanity will never lead to transformation. And only transformation is what keeps future names from being added to the death toll. If any ICE agent somehow, I don't know how, but somehow hears these words today, let this be said plainly. You are more than an acronym. You are more than your badge. You are more than your orders. You are more than the worst moment of your career. You still have a conscience. You still have choices. You still have a heart. And the world needs your heart to rise up to the surface and choose life. And to the rest of us, our task is not to become smaller in our anger, but larger in our commitment to dignity, to justice, and to one another. We remember these precious lives not by feeding hatred, but by breaking the chains of its cycle. May our grief deepen our compassion. May our sorrow sharpen our resolve, and may love, staunch, demanding love, be our answer. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for those who made this vigil possible, and thank you to the UU for hosting. My name is Julia Alvarez Green. I'm a professor of political science at Western Illinois University in Macomb, and I'm also the executive director of Western Illinois Dreamers. So I prepared some words because I approached it first as a vigil, but then when I saw that the organization that I run is a little bit at the center of this event, and you are kindly donating funds to the organization, I decided that you should know more about us and how it was founded and the history and what we do and all that. So I'm going to first start with my prepared words, and then I'm going to go off script and tell you a little more, okay? So we gather tonight as people of many backgrounds and beliefs, united by a shared commitment to human dignity. We come together to remember those who have been harmed, detained, or have died as a result of immigration enforcement. Since September, federal immigration officers have shot 11 people as the Department of Homeland Security has intensified deportation operations across the country. Across secular and religious traditions, we recognize that every life has value, that families matter, and that justice must be grounded in compassion. When policies cause fear, suffering, or death, we have a responsibility to speak out and to stand with those who are hurting. This past year has been especially difficult for the families we serve at Western Illinois Dreamers. Detentions, shifting immigration policies, and the loss of humanitarian protections have left many parents and children searching for stability. At Western Illinois Dreamers, we continue to stand beside them, providing bilingual, culturally sensitive, legal, social, and emergency services. Our legal clinic is now a lifeline for the families of detained individuals who would otherwise have nowhere to turn. May this vigil strengthen our commitment to compassion and remind us that reflection must be paired with action. Thank you for being here, and thank you for standing together in solidarity. So now I'm going off script. And so I'm a professor of political science. My main area of expertise is immigration. I was originally a Latin Americanist. I studied my home country, Argentina, and immigration policies toward Argentina. And especially what I looked at was the big gap that there was in Argentina in the treatment of the European immigrants from the turn of the 20th century and the newer immigrants that were trying to come from Peru, Bolivia, and the neighboring countries of the region. When I moved to Macomb, I visited Monmouth and Bearston, and I realized that there were large communities of immigrants in those communities, and I decided to study their integration in society. When I was finishing that research, I interviewed, I did 260 surveys and 50 in-depth interviews with immigrants in those communities, and a group of them said, well, can you now sit down with us and talk about what we need? And I said, sure, I'll do that. And they said, well, what can you do for us? You know, now that we have no resources, we have no bilingual services, we have no nonprofits that help us, what can you do for us? And that is part of my commitment to serve the area. When over the years I brought them like a bilingual workshop on how to produce literacy in your children when you're not literate themselves through oral histories. We brought workshops on how to send your undocumented children to college. And in 2019, I had the opportunity to found the organization. I knew there was funding that was going to reach south of I-80, as we like to say. And I founded the organization, and we first got a small grant for education. It was the previous Trump administration, so it was Know Your Rights education for immigrants. And, now it's working. And so after that, we grew a lot. We have 5 offices, one in Macomb, one in Bearston, one in Monmouth, one in Peoria, and one in Springfield. We were able to open our legal clinic last year, so we have an immigration attorney, an accredited representative, and another trainee, and 3 paralegals. And we have we see thousands of families every year that go through our offices. We offer not only legal services, but also any kind of social services and also emergency services. For example, if you arrive in Peoria and you don't know how to register your kids for school, we can help you with that. If you want to apply for Medicaid or get a driver's license, we can help you with that. So we offer all kinds of services. Then we offer financial services for families in emergency situations, and then we offer the legal services, and basically pathways to citizenship, to green cards, and especially now we're very busy with detained individuals in the state of Illinois, but not only from our region, but also from the Chicago area, because we stepped up to help our neighbors right in Chicago. So that's more or less it. I also had a bad immigration experience, but this word is a little small. I just want you to know that at one point when I was trying to apply for my green card, I had a chair in my department that is no longer at the university who didn't want to give me the sponsorship for the green card. It took me 5 years of fighting until I got that sponsorship. But I put myself in the shoes of others, right, that go through that struggle and don't have the resources that a professor at the public university in Illinois has. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I can see you after the event.
My name is Mohammed Al-Burmawi. I'm a professor at Culver Stockton College. Actually, I teach organic chemistry and biochemistry. I'm not used to these kind of speeches, but I was asked, so I'm really happy that, and thank you so much for asking me and for such a great event. What's happening is really directly affecting me. I'll try not to be emotional. I'll do my best. One of my best friends, colleague at Culver Stockton College, daughter got affected by what's happening. It really touched me. Sorry. I'll do my best. I'll do my best, promise. My son and his family lives in Minneapolis, so we are really affected. And you can see the color. The color is being targeted, like I'm a brown and from the Middle East. But I swear, I'm an American citizen. And I think, my daughter texted me, said, well, why don't you stick your passport on the forehead and walk around? So maybe I'll do that. So I will share you some of the Islamic tradition that is directly related to what's happening. Some verses from Quran and Hadith. So one of them says, we have certainly honored the children of Adam. And scholars talk about this saying, human life should be honored and respected. A friend in Dallas, like while they were there, one of their friends was targeted and, was captured, treated, and he told the officer, please treat me as a human being. I am a human being. So human life, human soul is very, very sacred. The second verse. O people, indeed we created you from a male and female and made you into nation and tribes. So you know each other, you love each other, you respect each other. Our differences are not meant to divide us, nor to make us feel superior to one another. You heard the language these days, there is a superiority language, which is degrading in my opinion. But we should learn how to respect, love, and honor each other. The third one. The best of people are the ones who are best for others. They treat them with justice, they treat them with fairness. There is no superiority among humans. This it should be. The fourth one. That's a saying of the Prophet. He's talking to his people in the very last sermon, and he told them, all people are equal and like the teeth of a comb. There is no superiority based on race, skin color, ethnicity, religion, or any other differences. And he said, racism and feeling superior, and he used the word, is rotten. Use that language. I would conclude with the verse you might heard. The Unitarian Church has been so good to us. They invited my family and my wife last month, and they invited me several years ago. And we shared this verse, and the verse from Quran: whoever kills a soul without right, it is as if they killed all of humanity. And whoever saves a soul, it is as if they have saved all of humanity. This verse in Quran. I pray, and my thoughts are for the victims, for their families, for the ease of the tension, for the anxiety we're suffering from. Actually, Xanax and Benzo are more expensive now. So I pray for peace, protections of humans, for justice and fairness, and thank you so much.
Good evening, friends. My name is Brett Gostelli. I'm the pastor at Luther Memorial Church here in Quincy, and thank you very much for the invitation to join you tonight and share some thoughts. Friends, we gather tonight because lives matter. Your life, my life, the lives of all of our neighbors, and the lives of the people that we have lost to unjust violence. We gather carrying grief, anger, fear, confusion. Some of us carry personal stories. Some of us carry the weight of watching this happen again and again. And all of us are here because we know silence is not an option. Across our many faiths and faith traditions, there is a shared truth. Every human being bears dignity, and it cannot be earned or taken away. However it is that we name the holy, God, the divine, the sacred, human life is not disposable. It is not collateral damage. It's not a problem to be managed. Violence that is carried out by systems that are designed to protect life is especially damning and devastating. It fractures societal trust. It deepens the fear in everyday people and in those who are most vulnerable. And it leaves families and communities grieving, not only for a person, but for the sense that justice seems impossible. So let us be very clear. Seeking safety and honoring human dignity are not competing goals. Our society will not become more secure by dehumanizing people. History has taught us again and again that when fear drives policy and power goes unchecked, harm always follows. This is the most true for the most vulnerable among us. As was said earlier, for each of us who is here, there are many people in the background who would feel unsafe to venture out to an event such as this. Many of our traditions teach us how to treat the stranger, how to treat the immigrant, how to treat the one who has less power. And it's not a side issue. If you're a person of faith, this speaks to the core of your beliefs. I happen to be a Christian. And the level of frustration and yes, anger that I have when I see people wear that as a badge that for somehow in some way gives them the ability and the power to treat other people as less than, I am disgusted. That is not the teaching of Jesus Christ. That is not the teaching of the Hebrew Scriptures. It is not the teaching of Muslim scriptures. It is not the teaching of the Universal Unitarian Church. It is not the teaching of any faith tradition. What we are facing today, friends, is a moral test. Today and in the days to come, that test will continue to stand before each one of us. As much as this situation breaks my heart and boils my blood, as I'm sure it does to you, we are not here to inflame hatred. We are not here to be combatants. We are not here to advocate for violence, to counter violence. This Monday, we will celebrate the memory of the great civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. And a lesson that he taught, and that has been taught by peacekeepers and the shakers of societies for generations, is that violence is not the answer. Violence must not be met with violence, but with nonviolence, with numbers, and with compassion. Compassion even for those who are bringing injustice. The hardest compassion that there is to give. So we are not here to inflame hatred, but to be ones who refuse to be indifferent. We're not here to assign easy blame, but to recognize the truth. And we're not here to despair, as much as we may be in our hearts of hearts. Friends, when I look at this crowd, I'm reminded that another way is possible. In all of our faiths, hope. Hope carries so much. And I don't mean hope as a passive optimism. No, friends. Hope is a discipline. It's the courage to keep showing up. It's choosing compassion when fear would be far easier. And it's standing up for those who are hurting and saying, you are not alone. Your life matters. So tonight, may our presence here be a witness. May the grief that we feel deepen our resolve. And may our prayers, spoken and in our hearts, move our hands and feet towards justice. And may we leave this place tonight committed to resisting every force that strips people of their humanity, and to building a city, a nation, and a world where dignity is protected, life is honored, and peace is more than just a word that we say, but the way that we live. May it be so. Amen.
Hi,
I didn't initially intend on introducing myself because that part sort of slipped my mind. But I know a lot of you, there are some of you here I don't know. My name is Keely Stratton. I am one of the organizers of 5051 alongside Allison and numerous other individuals without whom absolutely nothing that we do would be possible. So first of all, thank you to her, to Trish, to Kate, to all of our speakers, to everyone here who has come out on this very, very cold evening to join us. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Of the people, the most beloved to God are the strangers." In the Bible, the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verses 33 through 34 states, "When a stranger sojourns with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God." Even the poem plastered across the base of the Statue of Liberty begs of those who are struggling abroad, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." Yet here we are. It's 2026, and we gather today not just in memory, but in witness, to honor lives cut short, dreams interrupted, parents who will never kiss their children goodnight again, and friends whose laughter now lives only in memories. We're here because systems of power cloaked in uniforms and in policies, left unchecked and unfettered by the goodness and kindness that should guide us all, have wreaked violence on bodies and souls, and we refuse to let silence be their final resting place. Among them, let us remember Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3, a poet, a friend, a partner, and a neighbor, shot and killed by an ICE agent in Minnesota in Minneapolis while she was trying to support her community. Her life was a constellation of love, said her wife, and it ended in an instant. Let us remember Silviero Villegas Gonzalez, a 38-year-old father of 2, a hardworking immigrant who lived in the U.S. for 18 years, who was killed by an ICE agent in the Chicago suburbs after dropping his children off at school. He was a dad, and he should have gotten to go home. Let us remember Jose Castro Rivera, a 24-year-old gardener from Honduras whose life ended on a Virginia highway as in terror he fled immigration agents. A young man with a very good heart taken in a blur of fear and force. We honor all those who have died in ICE custody, men and women from places like Honduras, China, Guyana, India, Mexico, and Ethiopia, whose deaths from medical neglect, isolation, despair, and preventable conditions remind us of what happens when humanity is treated as policy data instead of sacred life. This past year alone marked the deadliest year in over 2 decades for deaths in ICE custody. At least 32 people, although we can almost be assured that there are far more, died under the watch of a system that promised protection for a nation, but instead proved it was only interested in protecting a chosen few, whose safety was, at least initially, guaranteed by the color of their skin, their accent, or their nation of origin. Even now, we see that when we allow even a single death to become acceptable, that those in a position of power will continue to push to see how far their reach will be allowed to go. It was not until the murder of a white woman that many began to truly get angry. Friends, look around you. They're not numbers, and neither is anyone else here. These were lives that were snuffed out. Fathers, sisters, cousins, community builders, songwriters, gardeners, and people with futures. They're part of our communities. They're our neighbors, our roommates, our classmates, and our friends. And we speak their names today not to condemn individual people in uniforms, although accountability must come, but to confront the structures that allow power without compassion, enforcement without question, and brutality without consequence. We gather here because we refuse to let grief be invisible. We refuse to let families grieve alone behind closed doors, and we refuse to let these losses be footnotes in policy debates. Every one of these deaths is a crater in the landscape of our shared humanity. So when we say their names, so many, far too many to list here today, we are not just remembering them. We are demanding a world where no mother, no father, no child has to fear that a day of hope might turn into a night of mourning. We are here to summon accountability, justice, and change. To remind everyone listening that every human life has value, not because of documentation or status or nation of birth, but because it is life. And in the face of so much sorrow, let this be our fiery promise, that we will carry their stories forward, that we will organize, educate, and love with a fierceness that honors every heartbeat that was silenced. If justice is a garden, let us be the ones who plant the trees under whose shade future generations will stand. We will stand together for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and for all people, regardless of where they are from, to have those inalienable rights too. Thank you. We'd now like to invite anyone in attendance from the community if you'd like to say a few words, or anyone who'd like have anything that they'd like to read. So please feel free to come up, introduce yourself, and say what you'd like to say.
Hello, I'm Carol Nichols, and I have two poems, one of which many of you read. It is by Amanda Gorman. For Renee Nicole Good. They say she is no more, that there her absence roars, blood blown like a rose, iced wheels flinched and froze. Now bare riot of candles, dark fury of flowers, pure howling of hymns. If for us she arose, somewhere in the pitch deep of our grief, crouches our power, the howl where we begin, straining upon the edge of the crooked crater of the worst of what we've been. Change is only possible and all the greater when the labor and bitter anger of our neighbors is moved by love and better angels of our nature. What they call death and void, we know is breath and voice. In the end, gorgeously endures our enormity. You could believe departed to be the dawn, when the blank night has so long stood. But our bright fled angels will never be fully gone when they are forever so fiercely good. The second is mine. I pull on my own origin. My grandparents were immigrants. In the bull's eye, you wait on tables for freedom. You wait to walk away unseen by ice. You wait at a checkout. You wait in laundromats for the dryer to stop, for your kids after school. You wait for the chokehold, the fast, faceless bullet to hit your leg your skull. There's no why with rogues, with thugs armed to the teeth sharpened by hatred. You wait, want as minded, for new life, new country, less hunger and cartels, for promise, hope, air. Como mi familia, as did our families. In the streets, in each act, hear our true voices. Wait, the laws keep changing. Hold on, hang on, be strong. Wait, justice is possible. Wait, November is coming.
I'm Bobby Harris, and I'm a member of this all-accepting group. Every Sunday, this is my home. And I wrote this poem yesterday sitting in my primary care's waiting rooms, and so it's not polished. I haven't had time to polish it. And we've been talking a lot about the ones who were killed by ICE. But those who were captured and deported, that may be more painful for them and their families. So this is for them. Escape. Escape from oppression, escape from aggression, into freedom to breathe, land of the free, welcoming to the weary, freedom to live peacefully, building a life of enough, family is safe from hostility, roaming, working, playing, finally home. Then it came with no warning. The masks, the guns, being grabbed without reason, cruelly taken without care. Where are my children? Where is my spouse? Locked up in coldness, carried away into darkness. All hope is gone.
Hello, my name is Andy Walsh, and sorry. My daughter is one of the people who has been indicted, facing 7 years for resisting ICE. And I wrote a song for her. I can't sing, so I'm using a little AI. Sorry. Two things about this song. She told me, first of all, I made it too much about her because she was more worried about the other people. And second of all, she's been indicted for conspiracy with 5 other people that she doesn't know. And she said, maybe instead of talking about the Broadview 6, we should talk about all of us, the resistors. So I need to rewrite part of it. But anyway, here it is. I think. I don't know if you can hear this. Can you hear it?
No oversight and bloodstained hands, mass goons for little girls in bed, dawn rays in silence, flashing lights, they vanish friends in bitter pain. In every scream, in every tear, we see the truth they want to smear. But justice isn't blind or dumb, it rises up, it marches on. When our neighbors disappear, we will not submit in fear. The Broadview 6 may take the fall, but they are standing for us all. So raise your voice and march your feet. If we stay strong, we can't be beat. Many victims got no day in court. No due process, rush to deport.
All right. Uh-oh. Anyway, that may be enough. Thank you.
Me again. The Christian feast day of the Epiphany is observed annually on January 6th. I spent a lot of time in the week leading up to and on the day of January 6th prayerfully pondering the story of the Magi. And then I learned about what happened to Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis on January 7th. A city where the vast majority of my living family members live. The traditional emphasis behind Epiphany celebrates the revelation of Jesus Christ as the Son of God and the Savior of all people. For Christian nationalists running amok these days, Epiphany offers them a mandate for the world to conform to their brand of Christianity. And with the power of the state at their disposal, this mandate is for them a commissioning of their will by any means necessary, including, and unfortunately, violence and domination. But the Epiphany story is about how outsiders could see what the insiders could not. It's a story about how the powerful will feign devotion if it suits them. It's a story about how faithfulness to Christ will lead us to disobey rulers in order to protect the vulnerable. And it's a story we've seen again and again throughout history, in many ways and in many faith traditions. So for you who are weary, for you whose empathy is mocked, for you who are tired of being gaslit, for you who are filled not with hatred but with righteous anger, I offer this meager gift, a poem, in the hopes that you and I will not give up hope, and that the one who has gone before us, the one who endured the state and religion endorsed death, draws near to us all in love. This poem is titled Justice Trumps Kings. Enthroned on suffering and dread, a tyrant draped himself in lies. Truth he's spoken, or truth he's broken, with each word spoken and dreams die under his eye. Rended hearts he casts aside and blames the lowly for their lows. No shame to live, no shits to give. His will a narrative to impose. Enabled by greedy cadres, emboldened by ignorance and hate, he summons obeying from praying to praying. Go forth, mass mongers intimidate. Security, the premise he peddles. Prosperity, the gospel decree. Above reproaches, greatness approaches, but only if you bend the knee. Yet, across the ages, a sacred word. God's ancient, burning song. The mighty will fall. Weak sycophants crawl back to Sheol where they belong. All the prophets cry, let justice roll. Such waters cannot be deported. Grace is free. so that all may be no longer fearful or extorted. Beloved, turn your face from the crown. Refuse to heed what Herod might say. For justice trumps kings. A new hope springs. By another's road we will make our way.
My name is Nikki, and I just wanted to share something of Quincy's past. I am currently studying right now about two sisters, and right now I won't be able to share all of what I know about them. But during my studies, I have found out about their views on immigration. Quincy at one point went through a big German immigration period, and this family was a pioneer family. They had been here for a very long time, and this is something that they said. The large German immigration into the country in Quincy during the 1880s was also recalled by Mrs. Turner. We were suspicious of the newcomers at first, but the newcomers were not to be discouraged. But we learned a lesson in tolerance. She said many of them were very well educated and very kind and very loving people. Even then, Miss Emily Turner and Miss Julia Turner were born in 1860 and 1870. They witnessed a huge influx of these immigrants come in. And the one thing that they taught themselves was tolerance and love. Quincy has been through immigration before, and there is no reason that we cannot learn from our past and get through that and learn in this moment to treat the immigrant through love and tolerance. And I just wanted us to look into our past. Thank you.
Just as a reminder for anyone who's interested, if you go through this doorway here to my left and then down the ramp, there are refreshments down there. Otherwise, you're welcome to remain in here for a few moments. Thank you all for coming. We sincerely appreciate it.
I'm not when you are here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate all the support here. So.